More income sounds great until you understand what comes with it. Welcome back to Milesh and Sadie Property Tours, Series 4. What would you do? And I'm Milesh, a property developer, strategic advisor and founder of The Property Edge, helping people make better property decisions.
And I'm Sadie, founder of Sadie Pizzey Interiors. We specialise in renovation and construction across residential, commercial and development projects.
This series is all about breaking down real decisions and what we would actually do.
And today, should you turn a single let into an HMO? Well, I feel like we should start with you because you are the HMO expert.
Oh, thanks.
You're welcome.
It's a really valid question, actually, around single let into HMO. There is pressure with rates going the way they are. And so a lot of landlords are finding it difficult to make the numbers work on a single let.
Yeah.
So people are considering HMO. I think approach with caution is probably how I would summarize it. There's some pretty serious factors to consider.
Okay.
So I think planning, licensing, compliance are probably your big ones.
Can we start number one? Do you always need planning for HMOs?
No.
Right, okay.
So if you have 3 or more people within a property that are unrelated, then that requires planning permission.
Okay.
That's in England and Wales.
Right.
Wales, that's been the case for ages. England, it came in more recently over the last couple of years.
Okay.
So planning permission is one. There's a thing called Article 4 areas as well, which is basically the local authority putting an Article 4 restriction in place to limit, in this case, the number of HMOs that go into their local authority, into their area.
Yeah.
So if there's an Article 4 area within the local authority, the chances are you wouldn't be able to convert into HMO.
Yeah.
So planning is a big consideration. Some areas have licensing.
Yeah.
So that is basically where you pay a license fee to operate your property as a HMO. Typically it's 5 years, and there's a cost associated with it as well. Then you've got compliance. So by that I mean your property needs to comply with the local authority's HMO standards, which includes things like minimum room sizes. You need to have, basically it needs to be more fireproofed. So fire doors, smoke alarms, heat alarms, all that sort of stuff. And I get mixed response on that. So my view is it's a good thing.
Yeah, definitely.
Yes, it's going to cost you some money, but actually it's safety of all of your tenants in there.
Yeah.
And the way one HMO officer said to me before is if it was a buy-to-let and a family living in the property, if there's a fire, you're going to make sure your kids are out of the house before you.
Yeah.
Right? So you've got that extra layer of protection or security, if you like. If there are unrelated people who are renting a room, they ain't looking out for anyone but themselves.
No, it's a really good point.
Speaking.
Yeah.
And so what we need to do is make sure there's enough compliance and safety, i.e. fire doors, smoke alarms, heat alarms, all of that stuff, to enable the safety of the occupants as best as possible, because everybody's going to be out on their own. Yeah. Essentially.
Yeah.
So it makes sense.
Yes.
But that does come at a cost. You need to make sure that you're doing it all to standards and getting the right professionals in to do those and make those changes for you. Which is kind of the overarching thing is around reconfiguration costs of going from a buy-to-let and HMO.
Yes.
So there's a cost of the refurb works, which includes the compliance stuff as well as the licensing and planning and everything else.
Yeah.
I think the other factor as well is, are you in an area, is your buy-to-let in an area where HMO has a demand?
Yes.
Rent by room has a demand.
I think that might have changed a bit because, I mean, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but when HMOs first sort of came out, it was very much hit at the university, the student. But actually, I'm seeing more professionals using HMO just because of the cost of living and the cost of rent, that now they can't afford to have their own place.
Yep.
So they are part of the HMO community.
Completely.
So therefore, you're not just looking for towns with universities, etc. in. You're maybe looking for places of, where there's lots of work, whether it's hospitals or things like that as well.
Completely. And this goes back to the due diligence. So if you're out looking to get into HMOs, then absolutely all of those things need to be factored in. So we, as a rule, generally, we don't work with students.
Okay.
And the reason and rationale behind that is you're very dictated by university timings.
Yes.
And term times and stuff.
Yeah.
And so it's just harder. Ideally, you want to sync your purchasing and your refurbs and your property to be ready so it lines up with the academic year. And I didn't fancy that.
Okay. But that makes it harder for you, I'm guessing.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it would do, yeah. But what we did do is look for areas of high demand for HMOs. So it's exactly that around local employers, the profile of the tenants that were likely to rent rooms, where they're based, why they're living in rooms versus houses. And so the local industry, it becomes really, really important as a test to see if, you're going to be able to rent by room.
Yeah.
There's other online stuff like you can look on Spare Room, and on Spare Room you can go to rooms wanted filter, and it just gives you a number versus rooms available. That gives you a good indication of if there's a demand or oversupply.
Yes. Okay.
Of property.
Okay.
Just a real simple measure at a high level as to whether or not that area could work or not. So obviously, if there's more rooms available than there are people wanting rooms, then you'd be questioning as to whether or not you'd go into that area.
Yes, yeah.
It also gives you an idea of the kind of finish and the quality and what the tenant expectations are.
Well, I was going to go into that because, again, historically, HMOs were a bit of a chuck a lick of paint on the walls and get it,
Stick a fire door in and
and you're done. But because now we are seeing more of a, the young professional, actually the standards need to be higher. People expect more. It was going back to even in a general lease, people expect more. We have seen so much social media that is how we want to live. We want to replicate that. And so you were talking about that there's minimum space standards, but I would question whether you also need to really research as to who is going to be one of your tenants, because potentially minimum space standards isn't going to cut it. If you're hitting, maybe mid-20s to 30s demographic, you want a bit more out of life by then. And so you're not looking to squeeze into a box at the end of the day. You're actually wanting something that is nice, that feels luxurious. If you are someone that maybe works from home part of the time, just having a bedroom that just has a bed in, again, isn't enough. You want to know that you can fit your desk space in there and you have enough sort of comfortability to also fit a decent sized bed and bedside tables and all of that comes into play.
Yeah.
So it's really understanding the area and the demographic.
It is. I think location and profile of tenant are critical.
Yes.
Because actually, to challenge that a little bit,
people
would pay good money for a small space in the middle of central London, for example.
Yes, I hear what you're saying.
Yeah.
Well, because you sort of have to.
Yeah. So it's just understanding. It's understanding the profile. And this is where your relationships with your letting agents and HMO agents come good.
Yeah.
Because they'll tell you the types of tenants that are moving in. There's always going to be an element of people moving out of home but can't quite afford to buy their own place, so they'll move out.
Yes.
We see a lot of people who are recently divorced, family home is nearby and they just need a room so they can still have access to the kids and be nearby and all that sort of stuff. We have a lot of blue collar workers, so they work in factories and things like that.
Yeah.
So they need, they prefer to have a room because the costs are lower than have a whole place.
Yeah.
So all of that stuff plays a part into what you should be doing when you found your area.
Yes. But going back to, even if you are in a sort of central, city like London, just because you might have a smaller space, actually you should be working harder with that space,
Yeah.
because there's so much clever design work now. Like even if you think of something simple like the Murphy bed, which is a fully functional double or king size bed that flips into a working office during the day, you should be putting all sorts of things like that. If you're central London and you are trying to generate some high income from this, it's all those clever design hacks that people go, oh, do you know what? I'm gonna go for that one over the other one I saw earlier in the day.
Yeah, that is true. I think I saw a phase about 6 or 7 years ago where people were pricing themselves out of the market, because the market will operate at a certain level from a rental perspective.
Yes.
Now, if you're over-speccing it, then your what you want from your tenants as a rent is going to be higher than what the market's dictating.
Yes.
And so the worst case scenario with that is you've pumped loads of money into the finish and the design and everything else, but your tenant profile doesn't have the demand for it, or affordability for it.
Yes.
And so it's just finding that real sweet spot, which is why I think looking at what the local area is offering and going a couple of notches above that, that's still reasonable cost-wise, will set you apart and get your room filled quicker.
100%. Because I guess the next step up, if you were looking at an HMO, you're also looking at what the cost of a studio flat is.
Yeah.
So if you're coming near to an HMO being near you renting out your own studio, then you just you try and squeeze yourself and find the extra money.
Yeah. So the parameters are quite tight between that room rental versus studio or one bed or whatever.
Yeah.
And the other advantage of HMOs from a tenant perspective is all bills are covered.
Yes.
But from shifting from a single let to a HMO perspective, yes, there's likely to be a cash flow uplift. Two things here. One, utility costs, energy costs are crazy right now.
Yeah.
So be really realistic on what your costs are going to look like. From energy, broadband, all that stuff.
Because I'm guessing you can't cap what they spend.
It's really hard.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
You can have like a fair use policy.
Okay.
But it's very difficult to enforce.
Okay.
So so that is a big factor. So if you're earning 200 or 300 quid on a buy to let, and there's scope for you to earn £500 or £600 by converting to HMO after bills, just be really careful about what that provision is that you're putting in for bills, because we know like energy is going up, and will continue to do so. So every time that happens, it's eating away at your profit.
Yeah. With that in mind, would you look at putting in, solar panels or something like that?
Yeah, if it's a property you're going to keep for a long time, then solar panels are an option.
Okay.
Yeah, definitely. I don't know the maths on how efficient and what the payback would be on it.
Yeah.
But yeah, definitely worth considering.
And I would also speak a bit about the efficiency of actually the building. So if it's, say, a Victorian and you've got drafty single glazed windows, it's definitely worth upgrading to a double glazed unit.
Yeah.
Same with things like insulation. I've always been sort of drilled in by my dad that you if you're taking a property apart, you get one chance to improve its efficiency, and you jam pack it as much as possible with insulation, because it really reduces down your heat loss.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. I mean, arguably, if it's a buy-to-let and you've done some work to it, then in theory that should have all been covered when you're making that decision around buy-to-let versus, or keep it a single-let versus HMO.
Yes.
I think the other thing as well, alongside the bills and the provision for bills and council tax and everything else, is the tenant turnover is higher.
Yes.
Okay, so if you get a tenant on a single-let basis, you pay your agent to find them once, and then you pay a monthly fee, a percentage fee of the rent. You then go to HMO, your tenant turnover is likely to be higher, so you're paying setup costs and tenant fine costs more frequently.
Okay, yeah.
Just by nature of what it is. And then guess what? The management of that HMO is going to be higher. It's more intense than it is a buy-to-let.
Yeah.
Which means your agent is likely to charge you a little bit more for that, which is fine because it warrants it.
Yeah.
Your business oversight And that relationship with the agent and how you manage that property is also going to change compared to a single let. It's going to be a little bit more hands-on, a bit more time consuming. So it's just factoring that additional cash flow up against those additional time pressures and management pressures of the property and of the business. Mortgage is another big one. You need to make sure your mortgage is a HMO mortgage. Rather than a buy-to-let.
Yeah, it's a different product.
Definitely check in with your broker or your lender directly and say, I'm thinking of doing this. Should I, shouldn't I? What options have I got? Because it may mean that you need to go and find another lender. And if you're in a fixed period with your mortgage on your buy-to-let, then there's going to be an early repayment charge. So there's quite a lot of little intricacies and little things that you need to factor in before you make that decision.
Yeah.
And I guess what you need to be clear on is if you go down this route, it's prudent to consider that you're going to be shifting to HMO for a long period of time.
Yes, it's not like you're doing it for a year and then you're going to shift back
no,
again.
No, just because of all the stuff we've covered: planning, compliance,
yeah.
legals, management intensity, reconfiguring the property. All of that stuff is going to come at a cost.
And then you've got to keep in, if you are planning on selling it long term. I mean, is it sort of standard that you sell it as an HMO?
Yeah,
I guess so.
Sell it to another investor.
Yeah, okay. So you're not bearing in mind, I need to be able to get this back as a family home.
You could, I mean, if at the point of sale or when you're thinking about selling it, you're going to get a better value for doing that, then you'd consider that.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, we put this episode together because it's a common question, right?
Yes.
My argument, having talked through all of this, is actually, would you be better off selling your single let to go and buy a HMO?
That's already repurposed as an HMO.
Or you repurpose it as a HMO from the outset.
Beginning. I see what you're saying.
Because if you shift to a HMO, there's also going to be a void period.
Okay.
Yeah, so your buy-to-let ain't going to be performing.
No.
All the while that you're doing the refurbs and reconfiguration and mortgage lending and all the stuff we covered, you're going to be out of pocket from a rental perspective for a number of months.
Yes.
So do you just keep the income as a buy-to-let until you've sold it, take your lump out, and then chuck that into a HMO and do it?
And do it properly. And therefore you can buy in an area where it warrants.
And it ticks all of those boxes.
And you can get a property which is going to be carved out properly to form what you want.
Yeah.
And just talking about how that property is carved out, I've just spoken about minimum space standards, but also, things like ensuite bathrooms, because they are a massive plus, particularly if you are looking at the market of, professionals.
Yep.
You don't want to be sort of hitting mid-20s and then going back to sharing one bathroom.
Yeah.
If that's not possible, or if the area doesn't warrant it, then at least be looking at, could I get a sink in there? Are there those sorts of things that you can add, which make a massive difference? And I think the other thing that gets forgotten are the communal spaces. Yeah. So they're not really in the communal spaces, so therefore let's not bother. But you're still in a kitchen cooking. And if there's 5 professionals in the kitchen, how is that kitchen... how is it divided up? How is it created? How is the space planned so that it can be used by 5 professionals, sometimes simultaneously? How can they all be storing their food or their utensils or whatever separately so that it's all organised and efficient? Yeah.
So there is some guidance on that within the HMO rules, within the local authority.
Yeah.
So you have to allow a certain amount of fridge and freezer space per tenant.
Yeah, makes sense.
You have to allow a certain amount of cupboard space, worktop space per tenant.
Yeah.
And the room size needs to be in accordance with that as well.
How many people you're in there.
And then if you get to a larger HMO, you've got to provide more fridges, more cookers, more sinks.
What about things like dishwashers?
It's not a requirement.
See, again, that goes back to the demographic, right? Doesn't it? Because you're right. If you're a student, then who cares? I mean, but by the time you've hit, mid-20s, I'd like to know that if I was sharing a house with like 5 other people, I'd want to see that there were multiple dishwashers in there. So it's
washing machines.
Washing machines, all those sorts of things.
Yeah. But just talking about that just very quickly.
Yeah.
Washing machines, great. People have got to dry their clothes.
Yes.
And so one of the biggest risks in HMOs is educating tenants to make sure they're keeping their rooms ventilated.
Yes.
Because there is an increased likelihood of condensation,
Of-
therefore
and-
damp
yeah.
and whatever else. So
I would go back to that as to when you are ripping out, that you put in the right, whether it's like windows with the right vents on them, and making sure that so I had it recently actually. My dad, he has a couple of properties, and one of his walls wasn't properly insulated. IKEA packs went up against it and a load of mold.
Yeah.
So it's just looking at all of those. If you know that that's where, you're going to be drying clothes, or you're going to be putting a load of wardrobes, you need to make sure that the infrastructure is right from the start.
Yeah, and get your agent in there managing the tenants properly in terms of how to go about doing that.
Yes.
Provide errors if you need to.
Yeah.
If you've got enough space, then put a laundry room into
I was going to
your
say,
HMO.
it all goes back to the planning, because you're right. The bigger the HMO, the more infrastructure is needed into your communal areas. So if you can therefore have a separate utility space, then again, you really want to carefully plan that. Make sure that there are loads of drying racks and all of that available for them to use. So it isn't, I think, in a nutshell, it isn't just an easy thing of, do you know what? I could get a bit more rent if I change these.
Yeah, I'll just do it.
Yeah.
There's more to it.
There's a lot into it.
Yeah, definitely. What's the hot seat saying this week?
So here we go. Okay. So we own a 3-bed terrace rental. Should we convert it into a 4-bed HMO for higher income? So I think we've pretty much answered everything in this episode. But effectively, I think it's going to depend on where it is. Is there actually a call for it in the first place?
Yeah, completely that. Yeah. The area demand test is number one.
Yeah.
As in, if you move to room rentals, are you going to fill them?
Yeah.
Simple as that. If that's a goer, then you look into the planning element, the finance element, and the refurb type work that you might need to do. And once you've got that, you can then make a decision on whether to go forward or not.
Yeah.
But if you're considering it, then consider it for the long haul, not just a short, sharp 1, 2, even 5 years. You want to think about it for longer.
And if you are thinking, you know what, we're keeping this for 5 years and then we're going to sell it, and all the other houses are family homes, again, I wouldn't be bothering.
Actually, as we were saying before, the other option, just sell it now and go and buy a HMO.
Yeah, definitely.
If you want more cash flow and you want to hold on to them and potentially do more HMOs, then as long as it aligns with your overall goals, back to your business planning and stuff, then consider whether you refinance to draw money out to go and buy a HMO, or sell your single let and just go HMO. Probably, I'd be leaning more towards that first.
They're selling it.
As long as it lines up with your overall.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would as well. Only because it's rare, isn't it, to own like a 3-bed terrace where all the bedrooms are of a decent size for an HMO anywhere, I would think.
No.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
You're getting 3 good size. I just think I guess I'm thinking of the standard 1930s where you do end up often with this kind of box room.
We love a box room.
We hate a box room. But what I will say, I guess then you've got an opportunity to maybe create like a small communal study space or something like that if you ended up with that.
Yeah. Or affordability does vary with tenants. So
someone wants a rubbish box room.
Somebody might only be able to afford a small box room, which might get them out of the house or enable they get a job in the area.
Yeah, okay, fair.
So, there's, as long as there's a demand for all of those different profiles, then you can monetize.
You can make it work.
Brilliant. So higher income doesn't automatically mean a better investment. It depends how it's executed.
And from a design perspective, the execution is everything. It determines your tenant quality, retention, and how the property actually performs.
And that's where most people underestimate the detail.
If you are planning an HMO or rental and you want to get the design right from the start, that's something that we can really support you with.
If you're weighing up the strategy, whether it fits your goals or not, I'm happy to talk about that with you.
If you have enjoyed this episode, then don't forget to like, subscribe and follow us on social media. And if you have a hot seat for our next series, then leave it in the comments below. And we'll see you in the next series.